Trapmore gang, it's been a few days really since I've updated you on the David situation, but there is an aspect of this case that has just been hanging in the air for a long time now, and I feel like it's time for a little update. And, you know, I don't do this lightly, but we've been waiting for updates on the autopsy of the young lady, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who lost her life and was found deceased in the trunk of singer David's car. And he's still not, he still doesn't seem to have had anything, you know, no blow. Well, there's been plenty of blowback, but there's not really been like any criminal proceedings. Like, there's a whole bunch of people been dragged into a grand jury, but we're still waiting to find out. So we got no autopsy results, we got no arrests, like no suspects, rumors from TMZ of people who are about to get arrested, but really we got nothing. Okay, so today I wanted to hop on it and just give you guys just like a little bit of an extra update on some of the stuff that's going around at the moment about, you know, what's the status of the autopsy, some of the stuff that's going around about maybe some things about this autopsy being covered up or blocked from being publicly released. And it just makes you wonder what's really going on. What's the bigger picture here? But let's just get into it, okay? Because our guy, the most controversial man on this case, okay, Steve Fisher, SF Investigates, he's had several tweets, all right, that have hinted towards this already. So let's recap those before I show you any updates that are kind of going around, because everybody's thinking, where are these results? He says, I strongly believe that the cause and manner of death have been determined and that the medical examiner's investigative report is complete in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, and have been since November the 20th or 21st. And as of recording this, it's technically the 28th of December now. So more than a month and a week. It says, although it's been recorded that the court denied LAPD's first request for a security hold on the medical examiner's files, I believe that reporting is incorrect. Security holds are not requested from the court. They are made directly by the requesting agency to the medical examiner's office by email and then evaluated internally. In its press release, the medical examiner's office stated that it denied the initial request on September the 15th. I am confident that there was an understanding that once the cause and manner of death were determined, likely November the 20th or 21st, LAPD would be notified and given a specific window, likely 24 to 48 hours, to seek an ex parte court order to seal the files. They don't want no one to know what's going on with this autopsy, and they don't even want you to know that something's going on with it in the background, I guess. It says, upon this notice, I believe LAPD then went to court seeking to have the file sealed, since their earlier request for a security hold had been denied because the medical examiner's office did not believe a lack of transparency was justified. It's also important to note that the LAPD stated in its own press release that it sought the court order only so detectives could learn the details of Celeste Rivas Hernandez's death before the public, and not to undermine transparency. I mean, why would they want that? Okay. It says, if detectives have now received that information, shouldn't the documents now be unsealed? It says, I continually hear it said, things have to be kept completely secret so it doesn't jeopardize the case. But nobody ever explains how it jeopardizes the case. Either a person is guilty or they're not. If they're truly guilty, then you cannot overcome the evidence. Attached is a screenshot from the LA County Medical Examiner's own policies and procedures on security holds. It says, this is just my belief. I do not have any inside knowledge about this. And he's very careful about that, right? Because he's been hauled in front of a grand jury. He's basically got... Some people on Reddit seem to think that he's got information about this situation that isn't even out there. Okay, I don't know whether that's true. We've gone back and forth about him basically claiming to know who was the last person to drive the Tesla. But he's saying a lot, okay? And this was on December the 20th, okay? So this was just over a week ago, and he's basically, you know, putting it across that, like, there's something very odd going on with these requests and, like, the results of this autopsy, toxicology report, whatever you want to call it. So this is the LA County Medical Examiner's policy on security hold. So I don't know if it's... SF's kind of saying that they're maybe, I don't know, maybe if he's saying that nothing going on that's not breaking the policies. So it says, the placement of a security hold by law enforcement agency on homicide, officer-involved shooting, in custody death, or other medical examiner case will limit the amount of case-specific information that may be released to the media or other interested parties by the Department of Medical Examiner. The placement of a security hold... Placement of a security hold does not restrict the release of the case number, name, date of birth, or date of death if the decedent is identified in the legal next of kin notified. All requests for a security hold must be submitted in writing via email. This request that this should be on agency letterhead, dated and signed by supervisory panel of the regulator's agency. So this is basically breaking down like on under what circumstances they would receive a hold. And it says once the security hold is submitted in writing, it's reviewed by the DME for determination. If the hold is approved, written authorization is required from a law enforcement agency to release the security hold should the requesting organization determine it necessary to extend the approved hold. It must be submitted in writing. If the medical examiner approves a security hold on case, any written press releases or public statements by the handling law enforcement agency should be coordinated with the medical examiner's PIO. And I don't know, it seemed like from earlier stuff that SF posted, they weren't coordinating too well, but I don't know. So he's got his opinion. This has been going around on Reddit, and everyone's been kind of giving their opinion. People saying this is painful drama between law enforcement and SF. The more they drag this out, the more people are digging. I reflect on what I've learned on social media, so it's time for more digging. Some people don't like him. Okay, some people don't like him, but some people don't like the cops. I'm not trying to speak down on the cops at all, because I would hope that behind the scenes they're actually just getting very busy. But it says all this is doing is eroding confidence in the LAPD and the medical examiner and himself. Let's not forget SF himself. It says it's making everyone following this case weary to believe or trust any of them, which, yes, is absolutely detrimental to an unbiased jury and public opinion. I can't understand he's so dense that he doesn't get that right. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I feel like everybody wants to get to the bottom of this, even on a public point of view. I just don't know whether concealing the information is going to help. But hey, if they know something we don't, they got to do what they got to do. I'm just following their lead and trying to find out what's going on. Basically, it says SF is stating that the LAPD requested the security hold, not the courts, as being reported. So they're saying, okay, well, I mean, okay, if the LAPD are requesting it, but it's not actually being done through the courts, there's a bunch of stuff that's like going through the courts, the grand jury, like that's kind of, I guess that's a separate thing. But they're looking over the evidence and they're questioning people. I'd never heard of that. Like when the OJ case happened, like I'd never heard of like a grand jury having a whole bunch of people in. They was going to arrest anybody before OJ. But hey, maybe this is different. Some people have been comparing it to that case. But I don't know. It's been it's had some similarities in my opinion, just as far as the way it's been reported on, and it's gotten a lot of people's attention. Okay, people saying Steve's just trying to stay relevant. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to stay relevant, but also like it is the question of how did the 14-year-old in the trunk of the famous pop star parked around the corner from his house die? Like, I think that's just like, that's definitely probably in the public interest. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like his level of fame is what makes it in the public interest. I feel like people just want to know what's going on. But if they're entitled to know what's going on, that's another question. But I'm just going to report on what's out there. But basically, people are saying it's pretty clear the results came back inconclusive. They're trying to build a case independent of the results, or it's an overdose and they're trying to build a case around who supplied the drugs, and they may not want the public meddling in the case. I could believe that the results were inconclusive, and they're maybe just like, look, can we not tell everyone it's we want even David maybe to think that we know what happened when they actually have no idea. It's possible. It is possible. But anyway, okay, it's just something that everybody's just trying to like desperately get to the bottom of, okay? And there's been basically more information, more digging that's been going on Reddit just about the status of these results, and basically people have been following other deferred cases from around the same time. And they're saying that like a lot of cases, they're getting worked out from this time. It says there are still 9 deferred. They've made a whole Google spreadsheet. I didn't make this. All right. I didn't make it. People are sleuthing way harder than me. And shout out to those people. Who's this emo baby girl on the Celeste subreddit? But it says there are still 9 deferred cases between January the 1st, 2025 and September the 8th, 2025 before Celeste. The 9 deferred cases are dated June 1st, June 13th, June 23rd, July the 2nd, July the 11th, August the 10th. You get the gist. Okay. We can now say that all the cases from September the 5th to the September 9th are resolved, except for Celeste's. That's very, very interesting, which we don't know if her cause or manner of death has been certified due to the security hold. So it could be determined, but if it's being held, maybe we wouldn't know. It says the next deferred case after Celeste is on September the 10th. There are 5 deferred cases that I'm monitoring from September the 10th to the 22nd. We're monitoring. See, these guys are going deep. Shout out to them. It says we're monitoring 85 cases, 70 of which have been resolved. 14 are still deferred, and Celeste is on security hold. That's what they think. That it's on security hold. Okay, it says out of the 70 cases that have resolved or no longer deferred cases, there's 1 homicide, 2 undetermined, 2 suicide, 15 natural, 50 accidental. They're getting busy with the accidents. Other little facts. 53 cases involve substances and or alcohol-related deaths. 24 involve fentanyl. 24 involve meth. And 18 involve alcohol. This project was created to provide context and help combat misinformation. By sharing this data, I'm not implying that Celeste's death was accidental or anything else, because I don't know what happened. This information isn't intended to draw any conclusions. I'll continue to monitor the remaining cases in upcoming weeks. Okay, that's very interesting. It says, yeah, they're definitely done with the autopsy at this point, just not saying anything. Probably because of the security hold. So I can't say for sure, but like that's what a lot of people think. They're saying they're done with it. This is consistent implication coming from TMZ and SF. The pattern and timing of dates and completed cases backs that intel up. The why for the privacy is debated, but I trust the prosecution and grand jury have a strategy. It helps lock up perpetrators and accomplices. I'm on board. All right, my hot take, the lack of public info and slow pace are good things. It means the justice system is doing its due diligence. I honestly believe the feds might have gotten involved. There's been a few people saying that. It says that's purely my opinion, though. America gets it wrong a lot. But I can't see the LAPD or the state of California wanting to look like they fumbled this case. It's an opening for political opposition. There's definitely a certain narrative about LA crime and the LAPD's competency in the media already, as is demonstrated by many folks' comments here. We're not going to get too into those comments. Shout out to the LAPD. You never know. You never know. It says, anyone else doubting LAPD getting justice for Celeste? I don't think the silence to this extent is beneficial. Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll have to wait and see what they do. All right. So it is what it is. Okay. It's complicated. Very, very complicated. I'm sure. All right. It's easy to make videos and give responses and read the news and look at TMZ. But realistically, actually proving everything involved in this case, here's the problem, though. I feel like if they don't get, iron this whole situation out and give people answers, then it's like, it would seem like this would become, this is what they would call in the scamming world a method. I feel like this could become, and I'm not saying that as a joke, like, if the body in the trunk for weeks on end, hidden in a place like that, I feel like everyone will be doing that. It'd be like the mob days all over again. That's crazy. But anyway, okay, separately to that, the one last thing that I wanted to bring up in this video, okay, is the fact that there is another YouTuber who dropped a video about this whole situation recently, okay, and he actually goes over some information apparently provided by somebody close to David. Now, I don't know how much we can trust in what's said in this video, but it's an interesting theory. Okay, so let's hear what was going on with this. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've watched a little bit of this clip already, and I feel like it needs its own video. I need to do a whole video on this clip because I'm hearing stuff that's very interesting, and it relates back. If you saw the previous video that I did, okay, like this whole Withered album journal that he had a lot of crazy stuff in there, and I'm not gonna lie, this is going to need its own video. Okay, so I'm gonna break that down in another video. Okay, but I do think it's interesting. It does sound like there's some kind of security hold on the autopsy results. I feel like it does sound that way. Maybe we're going to find out soon what's actually going on with that. Maybe it might not be for a while. Okay, who knows? This story could go quiet for a long period of time. Okay, I'm going to make a couple more videos on this, and then I'm going to go on to completely new topics in the new year. Okay, and look, all right, we're going to broaden our horizons out around here, okay? Like the David situation, obviously, if it happens, it happens. If there's a major development, I'll be here to cover it. But at the same time, I feel like we've really turned over every stone at this point. There ain't too much else to find, okay? And we've been digging. But I'll keep you guys updated on anything else that happens with this case. I will break down that clip that I was showing you at the end in a whole video, probably tomorrow, okay? I appreciate you locking in. I do think we're very, very close to this story coming together. Coming to a conclusion that at least will give people some answers soon, hopefully. All right. When it happens, I'll let you guys know. Appreciate you for watching this video. I'll catch you next time. Peace.